Hey, we are back.
What up?
I'm sorry about not posting last week, due to the whole internet thing where,
We may be only having to do it twice a month.
yeah, until we can figure out why our data usage is going so far up. But today we are going to be talking about,
Banshees.
yep, the Banshee. If any of y'all have been have watched anything anything of supernatural occurrences lately, or TV shows in pop culture, Banshees have been shown in things like Charmed, which is a great series. My mother got me into that series. We think it's been in Buffy. I'm not too sure. Do not quote us on that.
Don't know. It could have been.
Could be in Supernatural. Possibly. They've had everything in there. Banshees have been mentioned in Harry Potter, which is a great series. Everyone should have read it by now.
Wait, when has it been in Harry Potter?
I think it's been mentioned in the books. Trust me.
Probably.
It's also if I remember correctly, it's been in the games too. Not too sure.
Don't know, I haven't played them all.
Hey, there's even an X-Men character by the name of Banshee.
Yeah.
Same powers, pretty much, except
He uses it to fly.
he couldn't foretell death. The Banshee is a female Irish spirit that heralds death.
What is it with you and death lately?
I have no clue. It's bugging me as well.
And yet you're still doing them.
This is supernatural lore. Everything has to do with death at some point.
Yeah, true.
Banshees is often described in Gaelic lore as wearing red or green, either being a sodden or a silken dress or a
Disheveled, probably cloak.
that too. Usually with long, wild, or disheveled hair. She can sometimes appear in the form of an ugly, frightful old hag, but she can also appear in her true form of a beautiful young maiden. You see, Banshees...
So what's the difference? Ugly old hag or beautiful old maiden?
Beautiful young maiden, not old.
Bite me. Ugly old hag, beautiful young maiden. Is it just a 50-50 on this? This is what they choose?
Depends if they're trying to keep their true identity secret. Banshees are in some way shapeshifters themselves.
Probably.
You see, the Banshee is a member of the Fae race called the She, not to be confused with like she is in females. This She is spelled with two E's, not one. Or, as we would know them today, as fairies. More specifically, as fairies that dealt with death. They have the power to not only know when death is coming, but also who it was there for. As the heralds of death, the Banshee had a sort of sixth sense of when death was about to happen. As legends state that if you hear the wailing cry of a Banshee, that someone in your family was going to die. The great Gaelic families was always on the lookout for the cries of the Banshee, for their houses were always in conflict with each other. For when
Both
you...
internal and external.
Yeah. Which is
Someone
honestly...
was gonna die the way you look at it.
Yeah, which is kind of common in medieval nobility back then. In early parts of Ireland's history, war was prevalent among the houses, as each tried to pull Ireland under a single banner. In times of war, it was not uncommon to hear the wails of the Banshee across the battlefield, as men died in the onslaught. There was also cases that after the battle, survivors or the dying would catch sight of an old hag walking among the battlefield. And she would wail when she found a man on the brink of death. She was believed to be the Banshee Queen, or the Morrigan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I'm not.
And don't mistake this Morrigan as Morgan Le Fay, because that's an entirely different culture.
No, entirely different person.
I'm pretty sure Ireland and Britain don't necessarily have the same culture.
Again, totally different person, considering Morgan Le Fay is a person and the Morrigan can be depicted as multiple different people. Or was also at times known as the Phantom Queen, or as the Gaelic goddess of battle.
Fun!
Yeah. And when she was to be heard or seen on the battlefield, death was going to be prevalent to ones that you know or to yourself. And other stories and tales say that it was not just one woman, but 3 sisters that would be in the wake of a battle. And they were called the Morriganna. The Morriganna. Again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. And would perform the same task as the Morrigan. In some ways, the Morriganna acted as in the same ways as the Norse Valkyries. They would give the dying some solace in knowing that they are not dying alone, and let them know that someone is mourning their loss.
That would be great, to an extent. Because either way you look at it, you're still dying.
Yeah, but it lets them know that they are not being forgotten. In a way, in some ways, it grants them peace in knowing that someone is there for them when they die.
True.
But there's also a dark side to the Banshee. There are some stories about a Banshee that lost someone close to her and let her own grief consume her. She let the darkness and death and destruction that had happened around her blacken her own heart, her own abilities. So instead of warning of death, she would use her cries to cause it. The Banshee, if anything, but defenseless. You see, the Banshee's voice, when focused, can cause tremendous damage to a person, be it at a far enough distance to where or at a high enough frequency to cause death, or just to stun a person long enough for the Banshee to get away.
Great, great. The military has finally found a weapon for sound weaponry.
Oh, we already have that.
ADMIRAD does not count.
But like I said, the Banshee had the power to use her voice to either kill a man or to stun them long enough to where they are not captured. Because in Gaelic cultures, if someone was faced with the Banshee and was able to grab a hold of her before she cried, it was believed that they could stop the death that was going to happen. That if she did not cry, that death would not come for this person. So their main defenses was their own voice. But this Banshee thought that if she could not have the one that she loved, that no one would have the ones that they love in return. it was said, woe unto whoever would cross her path, for she would scream at the top of her lungs and kill the person, making their blood burst out of their heads, literally blowing their heads up in some cases. Or if the Banshee was feeling more
sadistic?
That's a word for it. She would scream at a frequency that death would be slow and painful, as their blood vessels would rupture in their heads and then slowly leak out of their ears, their eyes, their nose,
and probably their mouth.
And they literally die from insanguination of the blood just coming out, going into their lungs, and really gruesome and painful.
Like I said, the military. You have a new sound weapon.
Yeah, good luck finding one. There's also some legends that said the Morrigan and the Morrigana could sometimes take the form of ravens and possibly ferry the souls of the dead to the afterlife, or use the form of ravens as the raven or crow, depending on, I don't know if it's personal preference or family lines, to help them go from house to house, village to village, whatever, and let them and do their lamenting of the dead. It was also thought that banshees can communicate with each other through their screams, their wailing, their crying. They could literally cover vast distances and talk to their sisters in a way that and pass on how people are dying, what their course of action. I don't know. I can't put this into words at the moment.
So they had cell phones before cell phones were invented.
I don't think you could call it that.
Why not? The only thing they didn't have was texting.
Yeah, they had Far Cry. But literally, I'm surprised that banshees did not go mad from grief and stuff, as they saw people that sometimes did not even know die as they screamed, or foretold of death. These women were probably some of the most emotionally strong individuals to ever walk the planet, most likely.
So then, if they always cry before death, are we sure that they weren't the bomb sirens?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not the air raid sirens, Marky.
Are we sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're sure.
Come on, there's been more deaths in the freaking air raids, I believe, than...
Not going there. I repeat, not going there. It's bad enough you made the joke to begin with. We're World Tour jokes, people.
I'm evil, so...
Yeah, we know this. Yeah, like I was saying, banshees have to be the most emotionally, mentally, possibly even physically, strongest women that used to walk this planet, and most likely still do.
Well, what do you expect? They have to see death on a daily basis.
Yeah,
They must work in a lot of morgues now.
I highly doubt that. Good God, you're terrible. You're in bad taste today, always.
No, I'm in bad taste today. We're dealing with death. We've been on a death roll here.
You're a terrible person. And so am I, apparently.
Says the guy that's fascinated with death as it seems.
Okay.
You've done, like, how many supernatural creatures and stuff that's run on the lines of death?
Yeah, I need help. I need lots of help.
Granted, probably most supernatural creatures has some way, shape, or form of death in it.
Most supernatural creatures do have a way, shape, form of fashion of being connected with death. But
wow, death must be busy.
That's always working overtime. Have you seen the overpopulation of this planet?
Oh.
Yeah. There's really not much we can really say anymore about banshees. They constantly see the death of people that they've known or don't know. They scream. They scream. They wail. They cry for the ones that they see. As Marky put it, they had long distance communication long before cell phones.
And they didn't even have some sort of catchy ringtone. Oh, the inhumanity!
You're addicted to your cell phone.
Shut up! I've only dropped this thing like 20 times.
I'm surprised it still works. Of course, mine's not much better. So we're gonna call it ends for today. Peace.
Bye.